Imagine being so ruthless that your body count isn't measured in enemies, but entire civilizations. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer cities, he erased them. Historians estimate he caused the deaths of 40 million people. That's roughly the population of California, gone. And yet, he's also the guy who gave us international trade routes and postal systems. So, yeah, Genghis was basically Amazon Prime, but with extra genocide. Humble beginnings, from nobody to nightmare. Born as Temujin in 1162, Genghis Khan's early life wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows. His father, poisoned by rival clans, left the family to fend for themselves in the harsh Mongolian steppe. Picture this: a young Temujin scavenging for food, fighting off wolves, and avoiding betrayal at every corner. His mother taught him survival, but survival alone wasn't enough for Temujin. At one point, he was captured by a rival tribe and forced into slavery. His captors tied him up with a wooden yoke, treating him like a literal animal. Did this trauma break him? Nope. It turned him into a medieval Batman. He escaped, hunted down his enemies, and started assembling alliances like they were infinity stones. By his early 20s, he'd united several Mongol tribes under his banner. How? Diplomacy? Persuasion? Nope. Pure violence. Temujin didn't just defeat his enemies, he destroyed them, ensuring they wouldn't come back for a second round. When he finally took the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler, it wasn't a title earned lightly. It was drenched in blood and built on the ruins of his enemies' ambitions. The art of ruthless conquest. Once he united the Mongols, Genghis Khan didn't stop. In fact, stopping wasn't even in his vocabulary. He looked at the world map and thought, why not all of it? China, the warm-up round. First on the chopping block, China. Genghis started with the Western Jia dynasty. They underestimated him because the Mongols didn't have fancy siege weapons or walled cities. Big mistake. Genghis innovated. He captured Chinese engineers and made them design siege machines, basically turning his enemies into unwilling interns. When the Western Shia refused to surrender, Genghis ordered his army to wipe them out. Entire cities were depopulated. The Western Shia civilization erased from history. That's right. He didn't just defeat them, he deleted them. Next, he went after the Jin dynasty. The Jin thought their massive, fortified cities would protect them. Genghis, however, saw them as puzzles waiting to be solved. He used psychological warfare, strategic retreats, and an endless wave of cavalry to crush them. By the time he was done, northern China was a wasteland. The Khwarezmian Empire, a personal vendetta. Then came the Khwarezmian Empire, which made the fatal mistake of messing with Genghis's merchants. The governor of a border city killed a Mongol trade envoy and sent Genghis the severed heads as a reply. Big mistake. Genghis responded by unleashing the Mongol war machine. His army didn't just defeat the Khwarezmian forces, they annihilated them. He burned their cities, poisoned their wells, and turned the empire's rivers into bloodstreams. At one point, he even diverted a river to flood the remnants of a city, ensuring that nothing could survive. Why? Because when Genghis Khan took things personally, entire populations ceased to exist. Numbers don't lie. Let's talk statistics. Genghis Khan's campaigns caused the deaths of an estimated 40 million people. That's not just a number, that's historic depopulation. In some areas, the population didn't recover for centuries. He also destroyed so much farmland in Persia that global CO2 levels actually dropped. Yes, Genghis Khan inadvertently became the world's deadliest environmentalist. Forget carbon offsets, this guy reduced emissions the old-fashioned way, by reducing humans. His approach to warfare was cold, calculated, and terrifyingly effective. If a city resisted him, he'd slaughter everyone as a warning to others. If they surrendered, he'd spare the skilled workers, but still leave enough devastation to make sure they wouldn't rebel later. Nishapur, a tragedy of overreaction. In Nishapur, when one of his generals was killed, Genghis ordered the city's population of 1.7 million to be executed. That's right, he leveled a city because he was having a bad day. He wasn't just petty, he was cosmic-level petty. Psychological warfare, the original troll. Genghis wasn't just brutal, he was clever. He understood that fear was his greatest weapon. He'd send prisoners back to their cities with exaggerated tales of Mongol cruelty. The result? Entire towns would surrender before his army even arrived. It was the medieval version of a bad Yelp review, except the alternative to surrender was death. If a city dared to rebel after surrendering, Genghis would make them regret it. He'd level their walls, slaughter their people, and salt the earth so nothing could grow there again. It wasn't just about winning, it was about sending a message. Family man. Kind of. Despite all the destruction, Genghis Khan somehow found time for romance. Well, if you consider romance to be fathering hundreds, possibly thousands, of children. Scientists estimate that 1 in 200 men alive today are his direct descendants. That's 16 million people walking around with Khan DNA. So, while he destroyed the world, he also repopulated it. Some might call that balance, others might call it overachieving. The final days, going out in style. Genghis Khan's death in 1227 is as mysterious as his life was chaotic. Some say he fell off a horse during a campaign, others claim he died from illness. There's even a rumor involving a vengeful princess, but that sounds suspiciously like fan fiction. But here's the kicker. Even in death, Genghis couldn't resist being extra. He ordered his burial to be kept secret. His soldiers carried out his wishes by killing everyone who witnessed the funeral. Entire villages were wiped out just because they might have seen the burial procession. So, there you have it. Genghis Khan, the man who turned the world into his personal chessboard. He conquered more land than anyone in history, left behind a legacy of fear, and ensured that even his death was shrouded in blood and mystery.